Yani hapa kasha. Niendelee. Honorable members, the draft agenda and the program for the meeting were circulated to all members through the offices of the clerks of our respective parliaments. An updated version of both has since been circulated to include the election of chairperson and vice chairperson. Therefore, honorable members are advised to ensure that they are referring to the latest version of the agenda in the program. We have also received guidance notes on the election of the leadership of the RWPC, as well as eligibility of our member parliaments to hold those positions. Honorable members, with those adjustments of the agenda and the program, are there any proposals to amend the draft agenda?
Honorable Chair, may I just maybe flag the agenda on the screen?
Okay.
For the members' consideration. There it is, honorable members. That's the draft agenda.
Yeah. So the draft agenda.
You may wish to go for proposals, honorable Chair. Proposals and seconder.
Okay. So I would request somebody to propose for adoption of the agenda.
Honorable Chair, I move for the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Who is seconding?
Zimbabwe, I second.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sorry, honorable Chair. Could the member who was the member that proposed, because I can't see.
It's Honorable Cherenice Bush from Namibia.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for the record. So
yes.
The record. And the member from Zimbabwe?
Senator Mbowa.
Honorable Mbowa, okay.
Angola
Thank you.
pode secundar a adoção da agenda.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. And the agenda is accordingly adopted. Honorable members, I will now deliver the opening remarks. All honorable members of the Regional Women's Parliamentary Caucus, the Secretary General of SADC Parliamentary Forum, Her Excellency Boema Sakigoma, all SADC PF staff from SADC PF member parliaments, our distinguished resource persons, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is an immense honor for me to address you today during the auspicious occasion of the statutory meeting of the Regional Women's Parliamentary Caucus. At the outset, allow me to place on record my sincere appreciation to all of you for the warm reception you have accorded to me and all those who are attending the meeting of the RWPC for the first time. Following our designation as delegates to SADC PF representatives representing our various governments, even if we are meeting, it is clear that with the SADC PF family and particularly RWPC, we are at home. I must also mention that we have received excellent support from the Office of the Secretary General, which has enabled us to quickly acclimatize to our work at regional level. We are grateful to the Secretary General, a fellow woman, for her support. Honorable members, we meet today against the backdrop where, despite notable progress over the years, women continue to be marginalized and disempowered, their voices often unheard. As women parliamentarians, we are called upon to refresh our efforts to work with increased vigor for gender equality and women empowerment. It is our duty to amplify the voice of women in our region and to advocate for gender-responsive policies, public policies. Honorable members, the focus of our engagement today seeks to build on the previous engagement, which focused on imparting skills to members of the RWPC on carbon trading as part of the overall effort to build capacity for women parliamentarians leadership around climate change. Today's session proceeds from the premise that in SADC region, the blue economy is a significant driver of sustainable development and economic progression. The region boasts of 6 coastal mainland states, 4 island states, and multiple states with significant inland aquatic resources. The blue economy sector currently employs millions of people across the region through fisheries, shipping, tourism, and related activities. Honorable members, the blue economy is both vital to climate action and threatened by the impact of climate change. Oceans and seas act as the planet's largest carbon sink and a vital climate regulator. Yet, they are increasingly degraded by the very anthropogenic pressures they help mitigate. Climate change alters ocean climate, chemistry, circulation, sea level, and ice distribution, resulting in an increase in carbon dioxide absorption, which leads to ocean acidification. At the same time, heat absorption leads to ocean warming and deoxygenation, disrupting marine ecosystem and biodiversity. Honorable members, as we are all aware, climate change impacts are not gender neutral, but impact disproportionately on women and girls as compared to men and boys. If anything, the impact of climate change deepens already existing gender inequalities. Rising sea levels, warming oceans, and resource depletion reduce livelihoods, often forcing women into poverty and increasing their exposure to gender-based violence. Additionally, as in other sectors, women in the blue economy are underrepresented in the governance and decision-making. Consequently, climate justice calls for policy responses to integrate gender analysis into climate-related financial planning and ensure that resources address the distinct needs of women and marginalized groups. As fiscal policy tools, government budgets can be used to mitigate the negative effects of climate change on women through gender-responsive budgeting. In terms of blue economy, gender-responsive budgeting ensures that public funds are allocated to reduce gender gaps and provide women with equitable access to finance, technology, training, and leadership opportunities, recognizing women's critical yet undervalued roles in fisheries, coastal tourism, and marine conservation. Gender-responsive budgeting can boost economic growth by funding, training, access to resources, safe working conditions for women, and promoting integration of women into ocean governance, which is crucial for sustainable resource management. Honorable members, the capacity building effort during this statutory meeting is therefore expected to build on previous efforts by equipping the members of the RWPC with knowledge, skills, and information to enable us to advocate more effectively on the issue of climate change, particularly around the blue economy. The overarching aim of this series of engagements is to promote women parliamentarians' leadership around climate change. Allow me, therefore, to implore each one of us to take advantage of this engagement to actively interact with the various experts who will share their knowledge and experience with us so that we may truly benefit from this convening. Ultimately, I appeal that by the end of this meeting, we must all recommit ourselves to stepping up our advocacy efforts towards ensuring that women of SADC can be facilitated to confidently sit at the decision-making tables and to boldly raise their voices on the matters of climate change, the blue economy, and gender-responsive budgeting. With that said, I wish all fruitful deliberations, and I declare the meeting officially open. Thank you. Now the meeting is open. So after opening the meeting, now we move to for the adoption of the minutes. So I'm requesting you to hold the minutes of the previous meeting as it is shown in our agenda.
Honorable Chair, I will share the minutes. I will
Okay.
share my screen so members can have a look at the minutes as we go. I may wish to proceed, Honorable Chair.
Yes, I can see. So members will go section by section, because if you go page by page, there might be different pagination because of translation. So the first part is on those who attended. Any correction on that? So we move to the next session. Okay. Anything on the adoption of agenda and welcome remarks? Yeah, so if there are no changes, we move to next session. Welcome remarks. We move to consideration of the minutes, consideration of matters, consideration of the minutes. So we move to section 3.0, section 4.0, if there's any issue, section 5.0, section 5.1, section 5.1 synopsis, okay. Any issue on 5.1? If not, then we move to 5.2. Regional commitment. Anything over there? We move to 5.3, the gender impact. 5.3, if there's anything. If not, we move to 5.4. Mhm. Okay. 5.4, I'm not seeing any hand. We move to 6.0. Observations and recommendations. Okay. No comment, we move to section 7. And finally, we go to the last section 8. Okay. Thank you, honorable members, for your cooperation. Now, I'm asking who moves for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable members, who moves for the adoption of the minutes?
We move the adoption. Honorable Lynette Karenyi, Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, thank you. And who is seconding?
I, Honorable Lillian Ultuhezi from
Maulidi
Namibia.
Kembo, Malawi Parliament. I second.
Okay, okay, Secretary.
Honorable
you-
Chair, sorry. Just I don't think the member from Malawi was in the meeting.
Oh,
I joined.
the
This
previous
part-
meeting. Because
I'm available.
No, this meeting whose minutes we are adopting.
we want to see if there.
Oh, okay.
I'm just checking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because-
I wasn't. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those.
So only one of the members that were available can propose or second
All right.
adoption. Yes, because it's
Mm.
about verifying the minutes.
We want to see if there an accurate record of the meeting.
Sim, senhora. Eu sou a deputada Ruth Mendes de Angola e eu segundo a adoção do relatório.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
honorable members. The meetings are duly adopted. Thank you. Honorable members, now we move to our next items on the agenda. In considering matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting, kindly refer to the action taken matrix prepared by the Secretariat. We shall consider the issues in the action taken matrix item by item. In this regard, I will invite the committee secretary to present updates contained in the action taken matrix for our consideration item by item as matters arising from the minutes. Committee secretary, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm trying to share my screen for you to see the action taken matrix, but I can't seem to see it now. I don't know what the problem is. My screen is not moving. Just a minute, honorable members.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get this. Okay, there it is. So that is the action taken matrix. Honorable members.
Okay.
And if you
We start
allow
with-
me.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Continue.
So the key resolutions that were made by the caucus at its last meeting are summarized in this table, and we present them, and the actions taken, the updates received, where there are none, we'll indicate accordingly. So the first resolution that we captured was that SADC member parliaments through their relevant committees must amplify the advocacy cause by the RWPC for increased accountability on members' commitments on climate change at global, regional, and continental levels, and to advance gender-responsive legislation, oversight, and budgeting that address the challenges hindering women. Sorry, I'm coming down with some flu. Hindering women from participating and leading on climate action at various levels. The resolution was submitted to the member states for further action in line with our rules, particularly Rule 6.3. Meanwhile, a capacity building session was held for members of the RWPC in October 2025, if you recall, honorable members, as part of the forum's initiative to promote women's leadership on climate change. Today is a build-up on that previous effort. The previous effort, if you recall, focused on carbon trading. Members were sensitized around that issue. And this one will be focusing on the blue economy, climate change vis-a-vis the blue economy. So this is what we are reporting here, that further efforts are being made to organize similar capacity building events to strengthen SADC women parliamentarians' leadership on climate change on various themes, because climate change affects many different areas. So this is like this today's session is one of those where we are continuing to build on the efforts to strengthen women's leadership. I don't know if Chair, you could allow for comments, or I proceed to the next one.
Yeah. Honorable members, if you have any comment or you want to seek clarification, please feel free to do so. Okay, so I think you can proceed. I'm not seeing any hand.
Okay, the next resolution was that SADC national parliaments, through their oversight and legislative functions, must ensure that climate policies, projects, and funding mechanisms are informed by sound gender analysis through an institutional mechanism in order to promote gender-responsive climate policies and programs in the Southern African region. Similarly, this resolution was submitted to the member states, and we are awaiting updates. Normally, updates are done through their country reports. We also perhaps undertake maybe a snapshot survey later, but we haven't yet done that. For now, we're waiting for updates. So consider that snapshot survey to help hear from the parliaments exactly what is happening in terms of the oversight and legislative functions. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, fine. Thank you, members. There anyone who would like to seek for clarification? Okay, please, if you the item is ready and you want to seek for clarification, raise your hands. And if I'm not seeing any hand, then I'll just proceed to the next item. So with that said, please let us go to item number 3.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The third resolution was that SADC national parliaments must strengthen their oversight by holding implementing agencies and carbon project developers accountable for meeting carbon gender inclusion and social safeguarding standards, and mandate the use of gender disaggregated data in carbon market project baselines and monitoring. This is another resolution that was sent to the member states through the parliaments in accordance with the requirements of our rules, particularly Rule 6.3. And we still await updates. We have not received any updates on what member parliaments are doing. This is possibly another area where we could perhaps undertake a snapshot survey to just remind them that we would like to get updates on what is happening in terms of strengthening the oversight on this particular issue. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Now let us move to the fourth resolution.
The fourth one was that SADC member parliaments, sorry, I moved it too fast. SADC member parliaments must advocate for gender-responsive legal frameworks with clear provisions to promote fair benefit sharing from carbon trading and access to financial services for women-led projects, protection of women's land and resource rights in carbon projects. Parliaments must also ensure legal frameworks are robust and mandate that carbon market revenues are invested in programs that explicitly benefit women, such as women's climate resilience funds and training in green jobs. As another resolution, similar to the other two that we have sent to the parliament, we sent to the parliaments in line with our rules, and we could probably follow up with, apart from awaiting updates, which we are doing through the country reports to the plenary assembly, also follow through with the possible survey in future.
Okay. So, okay, thank you. Next.
Next, number 5, the Parliament must also take a leading role in advocating for adequate financing towards gender-responsive climate initiatives and take measures to track gender-responsive climate expenditures, as well as leverage parliamentary influence to mandate the government procurement supports sustainable climate and development services. The resolution was submitted to the member states, and we are waiting for updates. But I must also say today's session is one of those that helping. It's a follow-up and a build-up to ensure that the parliamentarians or the members of the RWPC are equipped to lead in terms of advocacy around adequate financing for gender-responsive climate initiatives. Yeah, so we were supposed to have, and we'll talk about it later, a presentation on gender-responsive budgeting, which could tackle some of these things. That's in terms of strengthening the members' leadership and advocacy. Yeah, so, but maybe we could also follow through from the parliaments what actions they are taking to ensure this leadership is strengthened at a later time. But we did send the resolution to the member states in accordance with the rules.
Okay. Fine. Members, I'm not seeing any hands. So we move to item number 6 of the actions.
Number 6, Honorable Chair, SADC member parliaments must amplify the voices of constituents, especially those in vulnerable and marginalized communities, in climate policy platforms, and to build cross-party coalitions on climate action to strengthen collective advocacy beyond political divisions. In this regard, parliamentarians are strongly encouraged to host formal hearings and town hall meetings featuring testimonies from women farmers, entrepreneurs, indigenous groups, and any other groups directly affected by climate impacts. So these activities are hoped to be done by the member parliaments. Perhaps the women parliamentarians could hold such meetings and hearings, or maybe through their committee systems. Yes, so this resolution as well was submitted to the member states for action, and we are yet to receive any responses. But perhaps during the plenary assembly, maybe there will be some updates through the country reports.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we need to follow up on those issues. Yeah. So the last one?
The last one, SADC parliamentarians to step up monitoring of government implementation of climate action and ensure accountability for results through thematic reviews into the effectiveness of national climate programs, including progress towards nationally determined contributions and other national and regional commitments, with a specific focus on gender-differentiated outcomes and impacts. Again, we've submitted to the member states, and our effort on this end continues in terms of empowering the women parliamentarians to perform their oversight function, as we are doing again today, and focusing now on the blue economy. I think that's the end, Honorable Chair, of the, sorry, there's more.
Oh, sorry.
So that's anyway, that's number 7. I didn't see that one. Sorry.
Yeah, so we go to number 8.
Okay, number 8, subject to availability of funds, the RWPC to undertake advocacy missions in SADC member states to advocate for strengthened women's leadership on climate change, for enhanced oversight on the domestication and implementation of relevant global, continent, and regional commitments to promote gender-responsive climate action. As indicated in the resolution, this was subject to availability of funds. So once funds are available, this is an activity that can be undertaken by the RWPC. In the meantime, we did submit to the member parliaments, and we are engaged in discussions with a partner with the aim of organizing a mission to at least one member state.
Okay, fine, thank you.
So number 9, the resolution was that a women's parliament be convened on the sidelines of the 60th Plenary Assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum with a focus on women's participation and leadership on climate change. And the Plenary Assembly approved this resolution, and a draft concept note has been developed, and initial meeting will be convened to finalize it and kickstart preparations. And again, hopefully we will be able to mobilize the necessary resources to support this particular activity. I think that's the end, Honorable Chair, of the resolutions and updates.
Okay, thank you, Committee Secretary, for taking us through action taken matrix. Honorable members, we are now moving to consideration of presentations by our resource persons. Kindly note that after each presentation, we shall have a 10-minute question and answer session to enable members to seek clarity on any immediate issue. However, we may engage in a longer deliberative session after we have received all the presentations, at which point the honorable members may engage with the resource persons further and seek more clarity. Honorable members, our first presentation will be delivered by a representative from the SADC Secretariat. This presentation is themed Overview of SADC Commitments to Climate Change and the Blue Economy. As members will note, the presentation will set the context of our discussions for the rest of our statutory meeting today. I now call upon the presenter from SADC Secretariat to deliver the presentation. The presenter, please.
Honorable Chair, sorry, we will have to correct this on the floor because I just got a message this morning. This is one of the 2 presentations that where they've indicated that they're not, but they only told me today. So perhaps I would suggest we go to the next presentation from, in fact, the 3rd presentation on the program, which is, let me just check the correct theme.
Okay.
The theme is strengthening parliamentary oversight and accountability for climate resilient blue economy action. The presentation will be made by Mr. Leon Mulama, who serves as head of legal and local representative of the African Group of Negotiators, Expert Support, Agnes for short. He leads their work with parliaments, lawyers, and judges, capacitating them to engage effectively on climate change processes. He has a passion for human rights, environmental law, and climate action. That's the presenter that is going to make this presentation, Honorable Chair. And I apologize once again for the changes which have been necessitated by the responses from the other presenter.
Okay, thank you. And now I invite the presenter to make the presentation. Please welcome.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Distinguished honorable members from the SADC member states and the SADC PF Secretariat. Kindly confirm if you can hear me and also see my screen.
Members,
Yes, I can hear you. I can see the screen. Honorable members, can you see the screen? It's sharing. And
Yes,
can
we
you
Yes,
see
we
me?
can.
Honorable Chair.
Thank you.
you can see.
Yeah, thank you very much once again. And allow me to first convey my sincerest gratitude and passion to join you in this session, as well as commend you for the tremendous work that you have been putting in relation to climate change and climate resilient blue economy action. So my presentation will be quite short. However, I do invite a lot of questions and interactions. I would love to engage with the honorable members and any other discussions that may further progress. And it will be focused on strengthening parliamentary oversight and accountability for climate resilient blue economy action. So moving to the next slide. First, allow me to set the scene of the state of the blue economy in Africa. Just as the Honorable Chair had rightly mentioned, there is an increasing desire and passion within the African continent to harness and utilize all the potential resources of the oceans, seas, rivers, and lakes for the social economic emancipation for the African continent. And one such way which Africa has done this is through developing the Africa Blue Economy Strategy. This is a continental strategy which outlines some roadmaps of how African countries may utilize or optimize the resources that we have in our very rich blue economy. And just based on these assessments, they have been classified in various thematic areas. So the first one is on fisheries, aquaculture, conservation, and sustainable aquatic ecosystems. This is where we get our food. This is where we preserve most of our biodiversity in the blue economy, in our rivers, in our marine ecosystems. And this is also a very strong and pertinent issue when it comes to climate change, because as we all know, and as the Honorable Chair had mentioned, the ocean is a very vital carbon sink when it comes to climate change, particularly in Africa. The next is on shipping and transportation, trade, ports, maritime security, and safety and enforcement. And this is where we try to maximize our ports, try to maximize our infrastructure in the blue economy to enhance and create jobs for our youth, for our people, and to ensure that they have a very resilient livelihood, which is both resilient to climate change and resilient to economic shocks that may emerge due to global geopolitics or emerging issues around the globe. The third one, is on the coastal and maritime tourism. Climate change, resilience, environment, and infrastructure. And this is one very pertinent issue, not only feeding into the climate change, but also creating green jobs. One of the key priorities of Africa is poverty alleviation and sustainable development. And through these ecotourisms, through coastal and maritime tourism, African countries are able to create green jobs that not only do not contribute to emissions, but also provide a livelihood for the people involved. And the fourth one is on the sustainable energy and mineral resources and innovative industries. One area that we cannot overlook is that we are rich in biodiversity, in natural resources, And we have a very high potential of renewable energy, including in our coastal areas where we can harness some of these wave energies. We can harness some of the biodiversity that are existing there to enhance the livelihoods of our citizens and our counterparts. And then we have the policies, institutional and governance, employment, job creation, and poverty eradication. And this is one area where I find that parliamentarians have the biggest role to play through enacting laws, through oversight, through representation of their constituents at the floor of the House, or when engaging with some of these officials. They're able to drive and push their agenda at the national level, at the sub-regional level, and the continental level, and beyond if possible. And so parliamentarians really have a big role to play in advancing the policies through legislation and oversight, institutional governance through the legislation, and employment, job creation, and poverty eradication. And then finally, we have the innovative financing. So one area, if you were to read the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 6 Assessment Report that was released in 2022, it highlighted that climate laws have three key roles that they play. The first is safeguarding or promoting, streamlining the climate governance. And this is where through laws, you're able to create institutions, you're able to provide a good enhanced transparency framework for reporting our commitments and how we have endeavored to realize our climate change commitments. And then another role is it supports climate finance. And this is one very important issue because through laws, legislators are able to make climate funds, they're able to streamline financing mechanisms, and they're able to ensure that financing has particular beneficiaries, such that it does not remain at the top level, but is also cascaded down to the subnational level, to the constituency level, through the principle of subsidiarity. And then the final role that climate change laws play is that reporting mechanism. They ensure that we are able to meet our commitments that we made under the Paris Agreement by ensuring that we meet our reporting and we also endeavor to develop some of these strategic climate change instruments, such as the NDCs, the NAPs, and the long-term low emission development strategies, which is the LTLEDs. Then moving into the next slide, where we highlight the role of parliamentarians in climate resilient blue economy action. So one thing I must confess, parliamentarians have been sidelined on climate change issues. Yet we know that they play a really critical role through their four constitutional mandates. For example, in representation, they're able to advance the views of their constituents in parliament. They're able to raise them when engaging with some of these executive officials and state officers, and they're able to ensure that some of these concrete or voluminous information that is coming from the executive can be cascaded down to the local communities in a manner that they are able to understand and digest and therefore contribute to the fight against climate change. The next role that they play is enacting legislation. Through enacting climate-related and climate-resilient blue economy laws, parliamentarians are able to drive the conversation, they're able to drive the fight because they set the institutional framework, the legal framework through which countries can operate and ensure that they meet their obligations under climate change and the Paris Agreement. And then the third one is on the budgetary appropriation. Through some countries have empowered the parliamentarians to approve the national budgets and even provide comments to the executive on how best to maybe move the budget or have some headlines to ensure that they meet some of their commitments. And in this sense, parliamentarians are able to approve national budgets in a manner that ensures adequate budgetary allocation towards climate action, towards climate resilient blue economy action, and also towards the institutions that we are giving this mandate so that they are able to effectively perform their mandate. And then the final one is on oversight. And this is one of the biggest roles that parliamentarians really play in relation to climate change and climate resilient blue economy action. Through monitoring and overseeing government climate-related and blue economy action, they are able to ensure compliance with some of the commitments that the country has made. They're able to ensure that the country is moving towards the direction that it has committed to under the Paris Agreement, under its regional treaties or documents, under its national policies. But one thing that we really need to hammer home is that parliamentarians cannot do this alone. Number one, they do need the capacity. They need to be enhanced on their capacity around some of these pertinent issues, including emerging issues as they arise, so that they are able to effectively have those debates on the floor of the House. They're able to adequately represent their constituents. They're able to enact some of these legislations in a manner that suits their constituents, as well as reflects the prevailing situation of the country. And then the second one is the support that they receive from parliamentary staff. Parliamentary staff are some of the most important people when it comes to oversight or supporting parliamentarians to undertake their oversight role. They're able to provide the technical backstopping to parliamentarians and able to ensure that they have the necessary information to make the necessary decisions that the parliamentarians are required to make. And then now moving into the key area of the topic, how do parliamentarians oversee climate resilient blue economy action? And so we view it in two ways. The first one is there are already existing parliamentary internal tools. Such tools, for example, include questions. When a minister or a state official is before the floor of the House, you as a parliamentarian, you're able to raise questions and tell them, but you say that you're going to do this. However, when we look at the ground, when we look at the budget, it's not corresponding to the ambition that we aim or that has been highlighted in your policies. How best do we then ensure that we achieve that objective that we have set out? The second one is summons. You're able to call some of these state officials to the floor of the House and ask them, we have received these complaints from our constituents. We know that this is what you have committed, but when we look at the ground, when we hear what our constituents are saying, we're not able to correspond or align with what you are saying and what our constituents are telling us. So how best do we approach this conundrum? And through these, you
Honorable Chair, I don't know if it's myself, but we cannot hear the presenter.
I think there is a problem.
Yes, on my
ICT
side also, Honorable Chair, I
Yeah.
can't hear.
I also can't hear him. Let me just check with him. Maybe it's a network issue.
Even myself, I cannot hear.
I'm trying to call him.
Hello, we can't follow the proceedings. We are not hearing anything.
I think they are fixing because even myself, I cannot hear.
Okay. Honorable members, he's just checking with his connection. Yeah, I've spoken to him. Thank you. Honorable members, he's just exited, so he can come back in again. I think the connection went bad.
Okay.
He's trying to reconnect now.
Hi, sorry about that, honorable members. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
May I kindly know where I stopped being audible so that I can go back and through the session, through the presentation, sorry.
I think you are on the slide that was talking about the tools.
It should be this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if others were cut on this slide or not. Members, is this where we lost connection?
Yes, Honorable
Yes,
Chair.
Honorable Chair.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Now you may proceed.
Many apologies for that, Honorable Chair. Maybe I can start again. So we do realize and are cognizant that there are some internal parliamentary tools available to parliamentarians. And some of these tools, for example, are questions where you may be able to pose some of these questions to state officials, to ministers, to directors of climate change and blue economy institutions, and you're able to get some of the answers that your constituents are asking you, and sometimes they're very tough questions. So this is another way or a tool through which you're able to oversee climate resilient blue economy. And the second one is on summons, where you're able to invite or summon some of these directors, some of these ministers, some of these state officials to explain or expound further on certain contemporary issues that may have arisen under the blue economy setup. And you're able to then make guided decisions on how best to maybe respond to your constituents, on how best to debate on the floor of the House, and how best to also engage with your constituents when you're doing some of the groundwork or constituent level engagements. And then the third one is on the hearings, which is where sometimes we have State of the Nation's addresses, and then after the president has made his speech, the parliamentarians are able to debate and critique some of the issues that have been pointed out, and you're able to then provide better guidance or better inform some of your debates or legislative work. And the fourth is on the reports. And one area we know is that committees, parliamentary committees, I would say, the backbone of parliamentary work in Africa. It is through these committees that work really goes in depth in Parliament, where we have designated or specialized committees, some ad hoc committees, and some instances committees which are just developed to discuss a particular issue. And so when these committees discuss, debate, invite public opinion or public participation views, and are able to do an in-depth critique of some of these pertinent issues, they issue reports to the Committee of the Whole House. And some of these reports are even made public. And this is another way through which Parliament does its oversight. And then finally is on the debates. Debates is how best, on the floor of the House, you as a parliamentarian are able to discuss issues that are arising. So, for example, if there is an issue that has emerged abruptly, you're able to raise it as a motion in the next session, and then it is discussed and debated, and some instances it actually results in better progress or I would say, do I say resolutions or actions that are informed by parliamentarians, and this is also another way through which parliamentarians are able to perform their oversight role. And then another instance through which Parliament exercises the oversight role is through the use of decision support tools. Now, we understand that there are these internal tools, but sometimes they may be inefficient. Sometimes parliamentarians need an additional support. Sometimes they need additional information which may not be available to them through the executive or through the documents that have been submitted to them at the floor of the House. It's through these decision support tools, you're able to enhance the internal capacity of both parliamentarians and parliamentary staff to provide the necessary technical support to the members of parliament, and this is critical to assist in the tracking and monitoring of some of these key issues that may arise, particularly around climate resilience, blue economy action. So these were just some of the ideas we were able to consolidate and come up with as a way through which parliamentarians can exercise their oversight role, particularly in climate resilient and blue economy action. Thank you very much, and I hand over to you, Honorable Chair, for the Q&A question session.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. Honorable members, you may now seek any points of clarification. We have 10 minutes for this activity. While the members are thinking of the questions to ask, may I request the presenter to share the presentation with the honorable members, please. Later, you can share your slide notes with honorable members.
Yes, I will definitely do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Honorable members, any question? Members, can you hear me? Hello? Unanisikia kweli? Honorable members, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Honorable
We
Chair.
can hear you, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Any question from the floor? Okay, I think the presenter has done a great job. Short presentation, well elaborated, well understood by all honorable members. So we thank you so much for your presentation. And now, maybe I seek guidance of the Secretary.
Yes, Honorable Chair. I think given the changes to the program, you might wish to take your break now, a 15 minutes break, and then return for the next presentation.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
For 15 minutes. That would be about 10:32, if the members could come back at that time.
Okay. So, honorable members, we have 15 minutes break. So please, let us all be back promptly after 15 minutes so that we proceed with our meeting. So thank you very much and see you after 15 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, Honorable Chair, I'm trying to check if the members are already back. Can you hear me, Honorable Chair?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm just trying to check if the members are back
Yes, yes,
in the
it's now
meeting.
time.
Honorable members, kindly indicate if you are back so that we can reconvene. We can resume the meeting.
Yes, we are here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we start the session, Secretary? Committee Secretary?
I just want to check that other members. I had one, but I'm not sure about the
Oh,
others. Yeah.
sure.
Honorable members, kindly indicate if you are back in the meeting.
Zimbabwe is back.
Zimbabwe is back. Madagascar.
Seychelles is back.
Seychelles is back.
Namibia is back.
Yeah, okay. Namibia, Lesotho. Lesotho is back, I see. DRC. I'm not sure. See the number. Madagascar, we didn't get, but I think we have, and Angola. I didn't hear from Angola. Madagascar is back. I think, Honorable Chair, we may proceed. I just want to check that our presenter is on because she had another meeting earlier. Madam Joyce, are you in the meeting? Madam Jacqueline, sorry. I see her.
I almost
Yes,
answered.
She's
Yes, I'm
around.
here.
Okay, she's
All
there.
right.
Honorable Chair, we may proceed with the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members, welcome back from the health break. Our next presentation will be rendered by another resource person from our partners, the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support, in short, AGNES. The theme of the presentation is Women Parliamentarians, Leadership in Climate Governance for Water Systems and the Ocean. I now invite our committee secretary to introduce the next resource person. Committee secretary, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Our next presenter is actually a seasoned gender negotiator at the UNFCCC, which is the UN Climate Convention, big meeting. Her name is Jacqueline Makoka. She also serves as Director of Gender in the Kenyan Government State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action under the Ministry of Gender, Culture, and Arts and Heritage. She is passionate about gender equality, human rights, and is a climate action champion with many years of public and private sector work experience. She is the current National Gender and Climate Change Focal Point for Kenya, and as I said, a seasoned gender negotiator at the UNFCCC. That is the presenter, Honorable Chair, who is coming up with that presentation. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm inviting our resource person to kind of proceed with the presentation. Jacqueline, are you online, Jacqueline?
Yes, yes. Sorry,
Okay.
Chair. Good morning, members. I don't know whether for some of it's afternoon. I'm greeting you from Nairobi. This is Jacqueline, but I'll not be sharing my video so that we can concentrate on the presentation. I want to convert the presentation. Can you see it first and foremost?
Yes, you can see it, Jacqueline.
Let me just share it once again so that it's in presentation mode. Okay, So, good morning, honorable members, and as my colleague has shared with yourselves, my name is Jacqueline from Kenya, and I'm going to take us through this short discussion about leadership in climate governance for water systems and the ocean, or rather blue economy. First, I just want to put a disclaimer that I'm not a marine expert or a blue economy expert, but this discussion, I'm sure, will, for most of us, even in our day-to-day lives, we have interacted with water systems or oceans in different ways. For those of us who are lucky to have the oceans, in our countries, but also when we talk about blue economy, we are looking at more than just oceans, also the other water bodies, even in country. So we are going to discuss about it, and especially with a focus on climate change, because we appreciate that climate change is affecting all the sectors, and the blue economy sector is not left behind. So allow me to just go through the slides very briefly, and then open the floor for insights or inputs or any questions, if at all. So to begin with, it's important for us to understand what the blue economy is all about. And anytime we hear about blue economy, our minds switch to water bodies. So I remember when I was new to this subject, I actually thought blue economy was only about oceans, because in my country, it's only the ocean that looks blue. So I was associating the name blue with waters that are blue. And of course, with time you learn that the ocean looks blue because of the reflection of the sky. But that's how I really got interested to know why blue economy. So it entails a sustainable use of oceans, of course, coastal waters, but also inland resources like the lakes and other smaller water bodies that are not necessarily on the coastal lines. So when we look at the blue economy, it includes components like fisheries and aquaculture. Of course, when we talk about aquaculture, you know that aqua means water. So aquaculture, it therefore refers to farming of water organisms, or rather aquatic organisms, or those organisms that live in water. But also we are looking at tourism as it relates to water. So you know that in our water bodies, there are a lot of tourism activities like even sports activities like boat racing, kayaking, water surfing, and such like activities. They attract a lot of tourist activities. And then, of course, again, shipping. We know that even as we speak now, we are suffering in terms of, at least for Kenya, the oil issue due to what is happening around the Gulf. So, and those waterways are the ones that are used to transport goods, including oil and other marine ecosystems, including renewable energy. And in terms of renewable energy, again, as regards to the blue economy, we look at renewable energy as a growing sector, especially for countries that have advanced technologies that are able to install like wind turbines in coastal waters, or even there are some places where there is floating solar panels to tap into the solar energy, and also the use of tidal energy. So the high tides, the sea currents, and the wave movements are used to produce energy, which is of course a clean energy, or rather renewable energy. So when you look at those components, blue economy, therefore, is very important. And so these waters also are a source of nutrition, like fishing. We've talked about tourism. So even the fisheries sector, together with the tourism sector, the energy sector that we've mentioned, the sporting, which is part of tourism, sometimes creates a lot of jobs. And even on some of our coastal lines, you see many people even picking shells for various decorations and all that. So it's a lot of economic activities along the shores, including even our cosmetic industries that use some of the water organisms to manufacture oils, and some of them medicinal. I like in Kenya, you find that there are some organisms that are water organisms that I used, like the sea moss, and the other plants are also used for medicinal purposes. So it's really a whole economy when we think of the blue economy. And then even as we look at employment in terms of jobs, it's important for us to look at them from a gender lens. What do women and men undertake in terms of this economy, the various value chains? Many a times you'll find that, for example, like a product like fish, you find that women will be more in the processing and trading, but they're not involved in the actual fishing, which is a gender issue. So, and sometimes this is also brought about by the kind of technologies we are using. Are they gender responsive? Can a woman comfortably fish given the equipment that are available? And also issues of access. Even if those equipment are there, are women as able as do men to access these equipments with ease, but also access to the water resources comfortably without any barriers. In many cases, you find that there exist quite a bit of barriers for women. And then I've mentioned that, the blue economy, of course, is a source of nourishment, food security, and it's not just food, very nutritious food in terms of protein for nurturing the families, but also for export, and other commercial ventures. So when we look at the blue economy, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's also susceptible to the impacts of climate change. And climate change has increasingly been disrupting oceans and water systems. If I may mention one of the key impacts, like in Kenya, we have an issue of rising Rift Valley lakes. So the lakes in the Rift Valley, their waters are really rising and causing a lot of damage and displacements. And this has been largely attributed to impacts of climate change. And this happens across our countries. The sea level rises, the floods, the droughts, the rising temperatures, and all that. And these adversely affect the blue economy. So you find that even with the temperature rises, like when the sea hits, it affects the aquatic life in the sea, because some of the fish survive better in cooler temperatures. And so many a times you've had that maybe just people wake up and at the seashore or along the coastal lines, they find very many fish dead, floating at the shore. And, some of the causes of death are attributed to those underwater disturbances of the sea. So with this, we observe reduced fisheries and tourism revenues. There's quite some damage to ports and coastal infrastructure, increased food insecurity, of course, when there are those disturbances, and a lot of loss of the sea organisms, including fish, then this affects the food security, because we know that many of the populations depend on the sea waters and the oceans for food, and also declining marine ecosystem health, among other impacts. So as we said, of course, it's important to look at women's leadership in this matter, and we ask ourselves, what is the place of women in the blue economy? And why is it important that women are involved or fully and meaningfully engaged in the blue economy? So women's leadership across sectors, but in this circumstance specific to blue economy, they bring in lived experiences. As you all know, as women, we are nurturers. We are the first social agents to our children or our families. So for those who live nearby water bodies or coastal lines, they have lived experiences interacting with these water bodies or oceans. So they are best placed to pass on indigenous knowledge or information on how to interact with or to take care of these critical resources. And so with these lived experiences that is passed on through generations, this is very important for policy design, because policies are designed to address certain issues, and therefore it's only someone who has fitted in that shoe that know where it pinches most, and therefore that makes a case for the need for women's full engagement in policy design and decision making in terms of adaptation responses for cost practical, inclusive, and locally grounded interventions as it regards blue economy. There's also the need for them to engage in order to have gender responsive climate governance as regards the blue economy, so that then there's identification of who does what, who is most affected, and therefore what intervention is most suited to address whatever they are going through or the impact that they have experienced, and also in identification of barriers they face and the interventions or the strategies to best address these barriers. And so both men and women are very important in matters blue economy. But when again you look at our institutions in terms of the management of the blue economy, you'll find that in terms of leadership and decision making, there could be some countries where probably women are more engaged, but more often than not, you'll find that they play second fiddle in the sector. And since in this session, honorable members, as parliamentarians, there's a very critical role that you can play in addressing some of the barriers that exist in this sector of the blue economy. Some of the proposed ways, and these are not conclusive, but just to mention a few, you play a very key role in developing and strengthening the laws that integrate climate resilience into ocean governance and blue economy. So it is you, honorable members, who ought to interrogate the policies and the laws as they are put in place in our countries to see to it that they are inclusive and address some of the existing barriers in this sector. Because if it is just done, without a keen eye to ensure all the issues that affect women, men, the marginalized groups, then it will be neutral, and many a times neutral laws are discriminatory in a sense because they leave out key issues that affect the vulnerable. Then you also have influence on national budgets to secure financing for coastal adaptation. So even as we look at this ocean governance and blue economy, as we look at the gender responsiveness of the activities, they should be followed by budgets to be able to implement, including restoration activities and sustainability of our water bodies and the ecosystem therein, including early warning systems that are gender responsive and reach everyone and in good time. Then you also play a key oversight and accountability role by monitoring government commitments, the spending. And now that you pass budgets, I think you also play a critical role to follow up and see we've allocated money to X interventions. How has this money, or how have these resources been expended for the good of the populations that you serve? So, and also just seeing to it that the governments that you represent are complying with the climate and oceans obligations as they should. You also are the voices of the populations that you lead, or the populations that put you into office. So it's important to amplify the citizens' voices by bringing their concerns as regards the ocean governance and the blue economies. And some of the voices that are not heard include those of women, of the youth, of the people with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups into national decision making. So, of course, you play a critical role of representation. And since not all of us can make it to the floor of Parliament, to be able to voice the issues and address them through policies or resources, then you play that key role in this sector to voice the concerns and bring them to the fore for purposes of being addressed. And then, of course, promotion of regional cooperation on shared marine resources. Of course, we appreciate that there are a number of countries that share water bodies, be it lakes or the oceans. So it calls for regional cooperation to be able to sustainably manage these resources, because if one country is careless to poorly manage the resource, the impacts will be felt by another, which might not be doing the same. But because of that shared resource, it's important that cooperation and collaboration is done, so that then the impacts on the water bodies are minimized. Or in terms of restoration and management, it is collaboratively done for the good of the populations of all the countries that share such resources. And then, of course, your role in advancing gender responsive climate policies that recognize women's roles and address the various gender specific risks. But most importantly, the accessibility to climate finance, because we know that in many sectors, vulnerable groups, including women, are left behind or lag behind because of lack of access to climate finance. So can we play a role in advocating for ease of access by our populations to these resources for the good of our oceans and the blue economy as a whole? So lastly, just to give an example, like one of the sectors that I can highlight from a Kenyan perspective when it comes to this subject, the fisheries sector. Like in Kenya, there's something, called sex for fish. Like you find that, women, when it comes to the fisheries sector, are really taken advantage of. And there are also quite a number of incidences of gender-based violence in the fisheries sector, but mostly women being taken advantage of, because I mentioned that when it goes to the actual fishing, you find that it's mostly men who will get onto the boats and get those nets and go fishing. And when they come to the shore, I think preference is given to certain vendors, most of whom are women. So, studies have shown that many women actually get the fish in exchange of their bodies, so offering sex so that they can get the best fish, and especially when there is scarcity. So this is one of the areas, and you find that in that sector there's also a lot of spread of diseases like HIV and AIDS, because of people having multiple partners just to get this scarce resource for purposes of either their livelihoods or their economic activities. So this is just an example that shows that we need to have policies and interventions that address such issues, so that then women vendors in the fishing sector are not taken advantage of. Is there something that we can have, interventions that we can have in place to address this menace? So I just felt that I share that example, and I thank you for listening to that briefing presentation, and welcome any feedback, interventions, any questions or clarifications. I'm here to listen. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline, for your insightful presentation. Honorable members, we now have 10 minutes in which to interact with the presenter on the presentation and seek any immediate points of clarification. Please welcome. Honorable members, any question, any point of clarification? Jacqueline, I think you have done a great job.
No.
Oh, there is
Thank
the
you.
question is Lilian. Okay, Lilian, you may proceed, please.
Thank you for the presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm from the Republic of Namibia, and then that was a very insightful presentation. And then a takeaway for us is that we are at an advantage whereby the majority of our ministers are females. This includes the finance minister, the agriculture minister. And then when we are talking about the blue economy and the role of what us parliamentarians should play, I look at it as an advantage because these ministers are also part of our women caucus, which will be easier to advance these issues through our caucus when they are present, which can make a very impactful, yes. So this is where I want to say thank you so much. We have heard, we have listened, and then we are going to engage more on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilian. Thank you
Yes,
for...
Madam Chair.
Yes, Lynette,
Yes.
please, you may have the floor.
Yeah. Lynette from Zimbabwe. I would like to also thank the presenter for the insightful presentation, which is talking about the issue of women, especially in terms of their fishing activities. But I would like also to find out from our presenter, because one of the key factors which she raised about the issue of women exchanging their bodies in terms of selling fish or in terms of fishing needs a lot of research, and maybe if she can help us with the statistics so that we know the impact of this activity, because it will also come with a lot of shocks which will also affect the issue of health services and also the spread of HIV and AIDS. I would also want to maybe highlight one factor which I think it can also help us, because after hearing that presentation, it means we need a lot of education and awareness in terms of these activities, because it is also affecting our daily lives, talking about the issue of women. So I wanted to say maybe we must also advance our gender responsive climate policies in our governments, communities, institutions, to ensure that women are not treated merely as victims of climate change, but also as leaders, innovators, and key agents of resilience and sustainable development. So I think in advancing gender responsive policies, we must also recognize the role of women in climate change, because they play a lot, especially in agriculture and water collection. But in terms of their security, I think we must also make sure that they are also safeguarded, because they also do these activities to look after their family. And after the presentation, I also think we must now have a multi-stakeholder approach in our parliaments, so that we also share ideas on how best can we also help women in terms of awareness. The other thing which I also want to highlight is maybe to talk about the issue of access to climate finance, because we also want to make sure that women are also included in the budgets, because at the end, women are the most vulnerable group comparing to men. So we must strengthen our skills and education, so that all the women also get training in climate smart agriculture and renewable energy. We must also promote our girls to participate maybe in STEM subjects, so that we also support their knowledge in terms of the digital awareness. I want to thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Lynette, for that intervention. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, I can see you, Sharonis from Namibia. Honorable, please.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, I just want to add on to what the two honorable speakers have previously said. In particular, Chair, because in as much as we recognize that climate action and gender equality needs to be aligned, we also must acknowledge that there are still systemic barriers, such as limited access to land, credit, and decision-making, increases the vulnerability to climate change impacts. Namibia, being a corridor, also has challenges where you can see that women are still, through climate change, disproportionately affected. And so with the presentation and the presenter that have spoken, there are key takeaways that for myself and the honorable member from Namibia, we can take away, because the blue economy is also something that is very high on our agenda, with the port of Walfish Bay being a corridor that facilitates a lot of movement in and out of our country. But at the heart of it is issues that we still need to address, which I've indicated that leaves women still vulnerable. And so it is therefore for me very important on the issue of capacity building, because as lawmakers, once we know and we are capacitated on how to use our platform to meaningfully also engage executive and hold them accountable in ensuring that our programs really uplift women on the ground that are affected with these issues, we will then be able to ensure that when it comes to defending and advocating for budgets, when it's time for the appropriation bill to come to the floor, we are able to do so knowing that we have taken proper account of what was previously done, and to ensure and evaluate if women are really getting the support. In Namibia, we have the Environmental Investment Fund, which for short is called the EIF. We need to look at, does women even know how to apply, for example, to programs such as the EIF? We have fish in Namibia. Are women able to participate through fishing quotas to own the fish that we are speaking of? And these are the issues that we are speaking of when we say that insofar as land rights, even access to credit, women do not have that leverage the same way, for instance, our male counterparts will have when we're having this conversation. So I just want to thank the presenter. I felt it was very instructful and very productive. And I think there's a lot as Namibia that we are taking away from this presentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sharon is from Namibia, for that intervention. Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to contribute to the presentation as we are finishing our 10 minutes question and answer?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Lesotho, I can see you. Honorable Mamane.
Mamelo Holomo.
Honorable?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and our presenters. Let me comment a little bit from the presentations that we have heard. I am from Lesotho. I think it's clear, that one. I just want to add a few comments that even though our country, Lesotho, is a landlocked country, but this blue economy still need to be applied in our country. We have rivers, dams, and the freshwater system. Those are the key resources that must be managed sustainably for our economic growth. Environmental protection and social development. We have major water resources, which include the Lesotho Highlands water projects. These resources play a vital role in driving water export and fostering region operational, generating hydropower, supporting irrigation in agriculture, developing fisheries, and promoting tourism and recreation. We can't deny the fact that we are known as a water tower, yet many Basotho communities still face water insecurity. Climate justice is about ensuring that our people, especially women and girls, have supposed to have clean water, sustainable energy, and livelihood that can withstand climate shocks. I'm very honored to be part of this conference or meeting, and I believe and I hope that as we continue, I will gain note and I'll participate as we continue. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable. member from Lesotho. Honorable members, I'm not seeing anyone else who is raising hands. So let us proceed. Let me take
Excuse-moi, Madame la Présidente, est-ce que je peux parler?
Thank you. Madagascar, please. You may have the floor. Sorry.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Premièrement, je tiens à remercier l'intervenant par rapport à toutes ces explications. Ça a été vraiment très riche. Mais j'ai une question en fait à poser. L'Association des femmes à Madagascar, en fait, on est on dispose du chapitre national de l'UMESA, ou l'Association des femmes du secteur maritime en Afrique de l'Est et australe. Donc, c'est une plateforme de promotion du leadership féminin dans le secteur maritime. Et je voudrais poser la question suivante. Quelles actions concrètes les parlements, selon vous, en fait, ou le caucus féminin régionaux peuvent-ils vraiment faire pour soutenir afin de transformer la présence des femmes dans l'économie bleue, et puis aussi afin d'avoir une participation accrue, parce qu'on voit actuellement que on est souvent dans une participation informelle, et pour qu'on puisse aller vers un véritable leadership économique et décisionnel. Voilà mes questions pour l'intervenant. Merci.
Thank you very much for Honorable Gabriel for your intervention. And we can now give the presenter an opportunity maybe to respond to some of the questions that have been raised. Jacqueline, please, if you can clarify.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, most of the interventions have been comments or contributions to the presentation, which is also very important for me, because I believe even as a presenter, I'm also learning something from the honorable members. Maybe one of the questions is, the first question was from Honorable Lynette from Zimbabwe, on the example I gave about the issue in Kenya about sex for fish, and she wanted some statistics. So quickly, maybe if I may just inform you, honorable members, that the 2024 estimates by our Kenya National Syndemic Diseases and Control Council placed the national average at 3 to 4% prevalence of HIV. And, you know, alongside that, like when you look at detailed statistics, the, you know, from other complementary researchers place the women's prevalence, national prevalence at 4%, while men at 2%. However, now looking at the counties where there's the Lake Victoria region that is very where fishing is quite a bit in our country. So we have 3 counties around the Lake Victoria, from which I'll just highlight some statistics. One of the counties, Homa Bay County's average is 25.7%. So look at 25% in a county vis-a-vis 4% national average. And then another county called Siaya County is at 23% prevalence, and Kisumu County at 19% average. So that is the county average. So there's a huge discrepancy between those the prevalence at those Lake region counties of HIV/AIDS compared to the national average of 4%, which is quite a concern. And so, of course, there are efforts to get to the root cause of this. Of course, one of the contributions known as the fishing industry, but of course, so those are the averages. I hope that helps. And then lastly, to the Honorable Member, Mama Melo of Lesotho, I think she was asking about how, that they have a women's caucus and how the caucus can better engage in matters blue economy. Honorable members, I know probably you'd be better placed to answer this, but in my opinion, I think some of the aspects that we highlighted in the presentation as the role of women leaders or women members of parliament could also be undertaken by the caucus. But the caucus, I think there is usually strength in numbers. So when you voice issues as a caucus, of course, is more is better received than when you raise it as an individual member of parliament. So I think the caucus can be a leverage point for women leaders to, speak stronger, voice issues stronger, but also even when it comes to policy or legislative.
Jacqueline, you are lost. We cannot hear you anymore.
Honorable Chair, let me just check with her for a few minutes.
Please check.
Honorable Chair, it appears the network kicked her off, so she's trying to join again.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
We'll wait. Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Yeah, welcome back.
You hear me? I'm sorry, my laptop went off and I thought it was charging. My apologies.
Okay. So you can wind up, Jacqueline?
Yes, so I was just saying that in terms of the caucus, I take it as a leverage point for the members from Madagascar for having a stronger voice to push for relevant policy interventions, but also participate strongly in matters ocean governance and blue economy. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, our resource person, Jacqueline Makoka, for that insightful and engaging presentation. We thank you so much. Honorable members.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, you are welcome. Honorable members, we continue with presentations by our esteemed resource persons. It is my pleasure to invite another presentation from Mr. Leon Mulama, who made a presentation to us earlier from the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support Agnes, and therefore needs no introduction. Mr. Mulama will now present to us a climate monitoring and accountability tool developed by Agnes, our expert partners, which has the potential to support us in implementing our monitoring strategies. So, Mr. Mulama, I welcome you to deliver your presentation.
Thank you once again, Honorable Chair. And I wish to request once again, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, perfect. I was just following keenly on the previous conversation from Jacqueline, and I think the members of Parliament really grasp the pertinent issue, particularly because under the Convention on Biological Diversity, there are three pillars which have been highlighted as pathways for gender responsiveness. So the first one would be the right to own and use land and natural resources. The second one would be the meaningful and equitable participation. And then the third is on leadership. And just hearing from the members of parliament from Namibia, from Madagascar, from Lesotho, and from Zimbabwe, it's quite clear that you are one of the strongest champions of these targets under the CBD. But moving into the presentation, Agnes, we have one work program which is called the Climate Change and AI. And it's through this work program where we are able to develop some decision support tools to better support some the beneficiaries we provide our technical services to. And one of these beneficiaries is, of course, the members of parliament. And so moving into our website, if you were to join the DST's dashboard, it will take you to our digital tools platforms. And so these are just some of the tools that we have. And of particular interest, I think, would be notable to the Parliamentary Caucus, would be this. We developed a gender hotspot map, which disaggregates climate information and gender vulnerability at the subnational level, just to inform decision making. And then the second one would be this, the IPCC summary generator, and this would assist members of parliament to synthesize some of those voluminous IPCC documents, which are sometimes 1,000 to 2,000 page long, into a PDF which you can download, 1 or 2 page PDF you can download and get the key insights that you may need to perform your respective constitutional mandates. And then finally, we have the climate monitoring and accountability tool. So this is a tool aimed at enhancing the capacity of members of parliament in their oversight role. We have done it for Zambia, Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, but we are definitely looking to expand to other countries. And so for the purposes of staying relevant to the region, allow me to use the Zambian tool. I really hope we had a representative from Zambia, but they were really influential and instrumental in ensuring that we developed this tool to suit their needs. One disclaimer I would like to highlight is that this tool is a template. We are cognizant that we cannot have a one size fits all, and so we developed just a template for containing some of these key components of the tool. However, when we come to the country or when we're engaging with the respective parliament, it's a co-development type of design, whereby we take all the insights that Parliament has, we ensure that the tool speaks to their needs and it does not replicate entirely what another country is doing. It is homegrown, it is nationally driven, and it is a tool that you yourselves develop, own, and deploy based on your needs. And just to demonstrate this differentiality, allow me to use this Kenyan example. As you can see, even the colors are different, the pictures are different, the content that it has is different. However, it's sort of a similar template. But now moving back to Zambia, the tool itself is a web-based tool. We design it to suit or reflect what the type of systems that a particular parliament has. And so that to avoid having or imposing additional financial obligations on the Parliament, but trying otherwise to supplement what is already existing. And so some of the features of the tool include an NDC dashboard, a GIS component, an atlas functionality, and more details which we will definitely deep dive into, including an AI assistant chatbot, which you can input a query and, for example, what is the state of climate change in Zambia, and it is able to provide a quick snapshot that you're able to understand the status of climate change in your particular country. It is fed with information from the country itself. We do not import or get external information. We use information either from Parliament or from the executive. Now, moving into the features of the tool, we have this landing page where you can easily access any particular dashboard which you would desire. There's the Climate Change Atlas, which is another decision support tool. We have the GIS projects, which contains all the projects, all the climate change projects that are happening in your country or in your constituency or in your province. And we also have the NDC dashboard, which helps parliamentarians to track the NDC commitments and implementation status, and then, of course, the home button. And so this is just a brief background of the tool, how it was developed, and why it was important, what it feeds into, what were the priorities of the country. For example, these were the priority sectors under the Green Economy Ministry. And then we also have the live platform where you're able to see if there's a project that is still ongoing. For example, here there are 3 closed projects, meaning there are 3 completed projects, but 10 which are still ongoing. And then the total amount that has been allocated towards these projects. And then we have a place for resource material. This is a placeholder for now, but once it is deployed, as a country, you're able to input your own briefs or resources or resource materials that you would wish members of Parliament to take keen on. And then, of course, we have the news segment where it keeps you updated on news related to Parliament. Allow me to log in, and then we can now do a deeper dive into the projects. So it's taking a bit of time because it's hosted locally. It normally doesn't take this as long. I just opened it a bit earlier, and so it's trying to refresh it again. But typically, it's almost immediate from the login, from the previous homepage to the login page. Just a second. There we go. So I will log in as a super admin, which will grant me all functionalities so that we're able to do a deeper dive into the tool. And so we have already gone through the home dashboard. Now let's look at the NDC dashboard. So the NDC dashboard gives you a quick snapshot of what the current or previous NDCs have been discussing. So for example, when we look at Zambia's NDC, it's saying that of the total budget, 25% of it will be unconditional, meaning that it will be locally generated. And then 47% of it will be conditional, meaning that it will depend on external funding and support. And then this is the amount of base emissions and the total scope of which the amount of envelope which will be required to implement the NDC. And so it provides a general snapshot. Instead of having to read the voluminous documents, you're able to quickly just come through and know there are 11 implementation sectors, the priority sectors, there are 18 expected outcomes, there are 135 expected outputs, 158 KPIs, key performance indicators, and then submission indicators. 10 sectors would be required to submit. And then you're also able to look at how they have disaggregated or how they have decided to invest under the NDC. So you can see here, for example, for transport, they want to allocate 6.5 billion shillings, billion dollars from the NDC towards climate action in transport. The same with energy, which is 5.9, agriculture 2.5, water 464 million, and then also the sectoral mix of in adaptation. For example, we say Africa says adaptation is its priority. So you as a member of parliament, you're able to come and say, you keep saying adaptation is our priority, but we only see you've allocated maybe 10%. So how do we realize that priority if we are not allocating adequate budgetary or considerations in our NDC? And then, of course, these ones we haven't yet received a project which has been linked to the NDC 3.0. So these are not yet populated. But once you receive a project that is linked to the NDC 3.0, it will be input here. And as a parliamentarian, you will be able to know how, to what extent each sector realizing its NDC obligations. And then, of course, it has some of the key priorities that have been highlighted in the NDC, and then the implementation sectors and how it has been disaggregated by budget, by how much which project has been allocated, and thus have we reached this 0.3? If not, then we can be able to put more pressure as you as parliamentarians. You're able to put more pressure on government and tell them we are seeing that we are 2 years into the NDC, but we have not yet realized or mobilized any resources to finance this sector. And then we can move into the legislative calendar. And this is where you're able to plan and set dates for your specific parliamentary sessions. So you're able to have a session, for example, if there's a committee meeting, you're able to quickly input it here, put the title, whether it's a plenary committee, public hearing, a budget hearing, whether there's a deadline or whether you're going on recess. And then you're able to put the time frame and then a description of the particular meeting, and then of course the location. And then once you populate it, it automatically populates on your calendar, and you will receive notifications ahead of time to ensure that you prepare adequately for the particular session. Then moving into the climate budget, this is one of the most important features of the tool, and it's where you do analysis of the budget. And so, for example, here I put the 2024 budget, and you're able to see of the total budget, this is how much has been allocated in climate change under transport. This is how much has been allocated in water. This is how much has been allocated in energy. This is how much has been allocated in agriculture. So you can see, for example, in health, we were using keywords, and that's why sometimes it may not be able to quite capture all the climate finance. And that's why one of the key areas that we are pushing governments to do is to develop some climate budget tagging codes. And this is where you assign a particular code to a certain sector. For example, if it's climate change, you can assign it 003. And so everywhere in your budget header where you have climate change expenditure, you would put 003, and that would ease the AI's analysis of the budget to ensure that it captures all relevant climate change data. But moving as with the data that has been populated, you're able to now see, okay, from the total budget, this is now how much has been allocated in climate change. This is the sectoral average, and this is how all the sectors have received the climate finance. And then, of course, there is a yearly comparison where if you do analysis of maybe 3-4 years, you're able to see, are we progressing upwards? Are we progressing downwards in relation to climate change budgetary allocation? And then this is also another way of representing that progression, yearly progression. And then, of course, we also added AI summary for policymakers, where you're able to, once you have analyzed the data, once you have seen all the graphs, it gives you now the narrative of how the country has been spending its climate change in that particular budget. And so it gives you, for example, here it says agriculture received 73.7%, and it was under the budget line of agriculture, and the total amount was 12.7 billion. And so it does the same thing for everything, and cascades all the way down to all the climate change relevant expenditure that has been expended. And then we can move into another key component of the tool, which is the GIS component. And this is where you have the projects. So for example, we have a project in Central Province. So if I click Central Province, I'm able to see the number of projects that have been there. And for example, this is one project that was completed, promoting climate resilient community-based regeneration of indigenous forests in Central Province. And it gives you a quick description. It gives you the location, the funding, where it came from, the implementation progress, as well as the key areas of focus. So for example, as a member of the regional caucus, you're able to see the key focus areas. Maybe there's climate resilience, there's institutional coordination, there's forest ecosystem regeneration. But then you would wonder, why is there no gender? And so that's another way for you to oversee the government's climate change action and tell them, you need to also consider gender when implementing this project, and it will also inform how best they implement their interventions. And so another example here is the Chisamba solar project in Central, with approximately 100 million USD coming from loans, and the beneficiaries are listed there, and then the key focus areas. And then you're also able to raise the query, where what is the status, what is needed, what are some of the challenges you're experiencing, and how best Parliament can support that. And then another feature additionally under the GIS is we have these geolocations. And so we have the map, but when you look at the satellite, you're able to now zoom in and see the location itself, and you're able to see if the project is accurately ongoing. We're currently using Google Earth, but it reflects about once every, I would say updates once every week, but there are more efficient satellite options, which update maybe every 2 days or every 3 days, just for that real-time data. But for now, we believe that Google Earth, because it's free and we won't be imposing that obligation on the states, it may be easily adopted by the countries. However, depending on the financial capacity of the Parliament, they are able to also look for more recent, more updates, more options which update more frequently. And then we have another tool, which is the Africa Agriculture Adaptation Atlas. And this is another decision support tool that was specifically requested by the Parliament of Zambia. And they wanted this to just provide additional insights on climate risks in the sub-Saharan Africa, and the projected climate change impacts to inform their decision-making and oversight. So for example, if we open the tool, it will take you to another tool, which we co-developed with CGIR. One of the, I would say it's an environmental NGO with a conglomerate of environmental NGOs. And we also we supported them in sensitizing these tools to members of parliament and other policymakers. And so you're able to quickly get a snapshot of what climate risks are. And then you're able to also discover some solutions, some other additional notebooks. This one is still loading. It's quite a heavy document. It's quite a heavy website, but it does provide some very valuable information. There we go. So for example, here it gives you the total value of production. And so you're able to see, let's do, I had Lesotho. So let's see Lesotho, value of production in 2005 was about 250 million. And so you're able to get such quick insights from particular scopes of inquiry. These features are for the admin, so I wouldn't want to dive quite deep into it, but just a preview. This is where the parliamentary staff designated to assign credentials would assign credentials to the members of parliament, to the senators if you are bicameral parliament, to other parliamentary staff to access the tool and provide some of this technical information to members of parliament. So it's normally, once we hand it over, Agnes has no part in it again. We hand it over completely, and the only thing we can do is now maybe provide additional.
Honorable Madam Chair, we cannot hear Mr. Mulama.
I think the connection is lost. So, Secretary, please, can you assist us?
Yes,
Committee
Honorable Chair.
Secretary,
Let
please.
me just check with him again.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'm back.
Oh, welcome back.
There he comes. He's back
Ah.
online. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Where did I lose you? I'm so sorry.
You are showing us a map.
That would be the atlas. This map, or
we cannot see it.
Just a minute. Was it this one, or?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is just another tool which will provide additional information. And so moving back, this was the element I wanted to discuss. This is where we hand over the tool. And once we hand over the tool, we do not have any access or rights over it. It becomes the Parliament's tool, and you're able to do with it as you please and tweak it and manufacture it or develop it in a manner that it suits the national priorities. And so, for example, under here, manage users, this is where the parliamentary staff tasked under the clerk's office to assign credentials would assign credentials to the members of parliament, to the senator, or to admin, and then assign an email address, a username, get them to get their password, and then they would have access to the tool. So once it is handed over, Agnes will not even be able to access the back end or the front end of the tool. And then another segment is the manage projects. And this is where once you receive documents or information from the executive, the parliamentary staff responsible for that will be able to populate it in this segment, and it comes and appears on this side, on the GIS, this side, where you're able to now see which projects, particularly the amount of funding, the beneficiaries, the key focus areas, the results areas, etc. And then this is also another managing news, and this is in the spirit of supporting local content. So if there is information from Parliament or information that a parliamentarian would wish other members of Parliament to access, they would forward it to the parliamentary staff, and then the parliamentary staff would be able to populate it on this segment, which is the news briefing, or as a resource material. And then it would be accessible to the parliamentarians on the homepage. So that's just a brief overview of the tool. It is definitely continuous work ongoing, but we have seen some progress in how countries are able to now track climate finance and how they're able to track climate change projects undertaken by the government. Allow me to stop here and hand it over to you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Mulama, for your insightful presentation. Honorable members, you may now seek any points of clarification on the presentation, and we have 10 minutes for this exercise. Please, you are welcome. Mr. Committee
Honorable-
Secretary? Yeah.
Oh, okay, from the Seychelles, Honorable Madam Chair, may I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, for me, this presentation has been a very wonderful insight because Seychelles as a country itself, we are slowly moving, not slowly, but Seychelles is quickly moving from a tech concept to a critical tool in relation in making use of AI. And when the presenter state like they have incorporated the tool within the National Assembly legislature in terms of climate change to be aware of the project. And for me, for Seychelles, I see this as a very interesting tool, despite it's in its conception, but I can see from the information provided, they are very well advanced and very well informed, and the platform provides you with all the necessary information. In Seychelles, we do have this information, but it is not centralized. Like, for example, the budget, you will access the finance section. For the projects, you will access another section, another tool, if I may say. And having this under one umbrella, like we can say, and as a parliamentary, we can access and we can better determine when it comes to we were discussing writing of policies, discussing legislature, and this is a very good initiative. And for example, here in the Seychelles, we are for our year 2024 to 2026, we are focused on providing a rapid response service that is to using AI to give the policymakers the real-time insight, especially towards the climate change into the ocean sustainability, because it is important to note that Seychelles, we are 95% dependent on the ocean. So this is a very good tool. And yes, I wish the Zambian parliamentary all the best of luck in really progressing with this tool. And this is something definitely that Seychelles will consider and will further discuss on. Thank you, Madam Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for that intervention. Is there any other person who would like to contribute or ask questions from this presentation or seek clarification? Okay, so I think from the Seychelles, it was just appreciation of...
Sorry, Madam Honorable Chair, maybe one question
Yes.
to the presenter, to Mr. Mulama. How do you manage the level of credential in accessing the information? You mentioned something during your presentation about the level of access. So how do you manage the level of access within the system? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe if you can mention your country for just record keeping, your name and the country where you are coming from.
Honorable Denise Clarice from the Seychelles.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Honorable Chair.
You are welcome. May I now invite the presenter, our resource person, to respond to the comments that have been made from Seychelles.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And thank you very much, Honorable Denise Clarice, for your submissions. I would like to appreciate first and foremost the commendments you've made to the tool. And we actually had received a request from Seychelles, but we had to put it on hold due to the elections. But if this is something you would also love to pick up, we would be 100% on board. But relating to your question, how do we manage the credentials? So under here, the manage users, this is where, as Parliament or the parliamentary staff designated to handle credentials or human resource, they would be able to quickly input your information here, and then they would create your account. And so once they create your account, you get access to the tool using your username and the password that you would request to be assigned. So it would if you're a member of the public or someone from outside, you will not be able to access, for example, the calendar. You will not be able to access the budget. You will not be able to access these other administrative functions. You would only be able to access the home button, the NDC dashboard, and the GIS projects. So it is entirely up to the Parliament how they would decide to I would say, give the credentials. Would they give it only to the committee members? Would they give it to the committee of the whole house? Would they restrict it only specifically to members of parliament and exclude the public? It is a feature that we can adapt based on the need of the parliament. So it's like, for example, Zambia wanted the public to know about the NDC. They wanted the public to know about the GIS projects, and they wanted the public to know about some news that is happening in Parliament. And so now those are the tabs that are accessible to the public. However, things like the legislative calendar, the budget analysis, or these administrative functions would not be accessible to the public. It ranges based on the needs of the Parliament, and then we adapt to suit that need. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Chair. Honorable Chair. The chair still on. Honorable members, let me just check. I think the chair may have maybe a technical problem. Let me just check.
Yeah, now I'm back. I had a technical problem, but now, yeah, now I'm back. So I thank the resource person for responding to the questions, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank him for the insightful and engagement presentation. Honorable members, excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, Chair.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
Honorable Chair, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Chair.
Great, thank you. Honorable members, as I had earlier indicated, we now proceed into a deliberative session. During this session, all members are invited to review today's deliberations and seek further clarifications of any of the presentations that have been delivered. Members are also requested to make suggestions as to the way forward on the possible strategies for advocacy on climate action and gender-responsive budgeting vis-à-vis the blue economy. It is also an opportunity for us to formulate recommendations for inclusion in our report to the 59th Plenary Assembly. I now invite honorable members to seek clarity from our experts and to suggest the observations and recommendations to be included in our report. Please, members, you are welcome. Honorable members, the floor is yours, please. Committee Secretary and the honorable members, are we together?
Honorable Chair, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, and I hope.
I don't see any hands, but maybe
Okay.
give the members another minute.
Yeah,
They're still gathering their thoughts.
Sure, because they have to start from where we started this morning. So I'll give them some 2-3 minutes, and then you can guide us on the recommendations for the inclusion in our report.
Honorable Madam Chair, maybe I have two recommendations that can be considered since this morning. It's Honorable Clarisse from the Seychelles. We have been discussing about the climate change. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Maybe because since this morning we've been talking about the climate change, the gender. One point can be considered that will be about strengthening the accountability and oversight. So we can put it in the line of mandatory, the climate impact. So that all new blue economy infrastructure projects submitted for budget approval, must include a specific climate resilience assessment detailing how the project will withstand, like, for example, the sea level rise over the next 50 years. And also we can establish a blue economy dashboard that can be recommended with the responsible ministry for blue economy to provide the Parliament with access to real-time digital dashboard information. This will allow the MNEs to track the progress of whatever is being entailed in relation to projects that definitely will be seen as climate change prospect. And number two, maybe we can sort of like within the Parliament come up with the community-centered resilience. So it's like people focus. We can sort of through the Parliament to localize the early warning system and also decentralize the coastal protection. And maybe the last one will be the gender and youth inclusion when we talk about the social pillar. So this will be important where we are targeting the blue entrepreneurship grants and also some gender disaggregated data collection also that can be recommended, especially like we were discussing earlier in relation to the level of participation when it comes to a woman towards the blue economy. Maybe this is my take, my contribution rather. Thank you, Madam Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dennis, for that contribution, 3 recommendations. And I think our committee secretary has well noted the recommendations.
Yes, Honorable, I have.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Honorable members, any other contributions, suggestions for what we should include as a recommendation to the 59th plenary session, plenary assembly? Yeah, committee secretary, there is silence. I'm not seeing any hand raised. You may guide me how to proceed.
Yes, Honorable Chair, you may wish to proceed in accordance with the procedural guide in terms of concluding and then going into the last item on the agenda, which is the elections, as indicated there. the last bit on calling on the Secretary General to come and administer the elections.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Honorable members, it's now time to consider any other business that may not have been covered during the meeting, which members feel is pertinent. So I welcome members if there is any other business. Okay, looks like there is no any
If there
other
are no
business.
hands, Honorable Chair, you may wish to proceed.
Yes.
There's
I
a
can.
hand from
Yeah.
Honorable Lillian Lu.
Yes, sorry. I think my hand is not visible.
Yeah, it's Honorable
And
Shabalala.
good
may
morning,
proceed.
honorable members. My name is Lutlego Chabalala. No, I am not a member of parliament. I am engaged as a gender consultant for SADC PF. So maybe to backtrack a little bit when you're asking about the recommendations to be included for the plenary. I wanted to say that maybe aligning new maritime and aquatic laws with the revised SADC protocol on gender in development. So a recommendation for member parliaments to audit and all existing and pending maritime legislature. And that will ensure that policies, institutional and governance framework, such as highlighted by Agnes, include mandatory quotas for women in port management, maritime security, and ocean governance bodies. And also, education is a climate adaptation tool. Securing the future workforce of the SADC blue economy. So for the plenary inclusion, it would be to propose a regional commitment to increase budgetary allocations for girls' education in STEM and marine sciences. So the logic behind that is to lead the blue economy. Women must transition from just being participants to being scientists, to being engineers and policymakers, managing SADC's aquatic resources. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that recommendation. Is there any other hand that maybe I have not seen? Okay, we had already moved it.
Yes. Is my hand not seen?
Yes, I can see you now. Lillian,
Okay.
please.
I think mine is just clarity on the existing parliamentary internal tools that we can use for us to achieve some of these issues that have been discussed here. I see we have questions, sermons, hearings, reports, and debate. And then I wanted to find out, could be a petition one of the tools that we can use in order to force the executive to account? That's my question on these tools. So is it appropriate? Is it necessary? Because, yeah.
Okay, so there is a question from Honorable Lillian. Committee Secretary, please, you guide us who is going to respond.
Yes, Honorable Chair. Depending on the on the rules of the particular parliament, petitions can indeed be used. I will probably use an example of Zambia, which I'm familiar with. In Zambia, through a petition, members of the public can work with members of parliament to seek that specific legislation be enacted on a particular matter of interest. So if the matter is, for example, something to do with the blue economy, a petition is certainly one of the tools that are available to the members of parliament, who at this point, we are assuming are backbenchers, not those in the executive, who are representing their constituents, to actually bring in legislation, which would be private members' legislation, probably using that method. But this is, of course, subject to the rules of the particular parliament, because different parliaments may have different rules regarding what you can do with a petition. So I just gave an example of Zambia. I would imagine that other parliaments may have different rules about what can you do with a petition. So that it could work. It's one of the methods that you could use if the rules of the individual parliament allow that you can use it that way. Thank you, Honorable
Okay,
Chair.
thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have now concluded the deliberative session. Now, again, we move to any other business. Honorable members, it is now time to consider any other business that may not have been covered during the meeting, which members feel is pertinent. I had already asked for any other business, but I'm giving you a second chance if there's any other business for you to include in the agenda. Honorable members?
No points for AOB, Madam Honorable Chair.
Okay.
From my
Please.
side. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you for at least giving me an indication that silence means no any other business. So I think we may now proceed, honorable members. We have one more important agenda item to attend to. This is the election of the chairperson and vice chairperson of the Regional Women's Parliamentary Caucus for the period of 2026 to 2028. This part of the program will be presided over by the Secretary General. Before I hand over to the Secretary General, allow me to say a brief note of thanks to you all for your support and cooperation during this meeting and for your support to Tanzania during the time our country has held the chair of the RWPS from 2024 to 2026. For me personally, it has been a short but worthwhile period of presiding over the business of the RWPC today. I look forward to ongoing and mutual beneficial engagement with each one of you as we continue to pursue gender equality and women's empowerment in our region. At this juncture, allow me to hand over to the Secretary General to proceed with the process of election. Secretary General, Madam SG, you may please take the floor. Thank you very much, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Afternoon. My name is Tony Nikurash. I'm the Director, Parliamentary Business and Programs. I have the honor of representing the SADC Parliamentary Forum Secretary General in conducting the elections for chairpersons and vice chairpersons of the vice chairperson of the RWPC for the period, for a two-tenure period of 2026 to 2028. To facilitate that process, before I go through the procedure, I will invite my colleague from ICT to brief in terms of how we are going to conduct elections in terms of, because it's an electronic or online election, and we're going to have to be briefed in terms of how we are going to proceed in terms of using the ICT technology. Then I'll go into the procedure and proceed to conduct the elections. Over to you, Ronald.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Ronald Venby. I'm the ICT officer for the Study Parliamentary Forum. Momentarily, as soon as we have concluded who's eligible, a poll will be displayed on the screen where each one of you will be able to see who you would want to vote for. So what would happen is, in this case, is we will only have the members of parliament in the meeting. The rest of us will be pushed during this process. So this is to allow that there's only the members of parliament that are able to vote during this juncture. As soon as the returning officer has come through and pasted who is eligible, we'll post that poll, and the poll will be displayed on each one of your screens, and then you will be allowed to vote on your preferred candidate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ronald, for that briefing. And Ronald will be in the meeting to facilitate the process at the point when we will be voting. At this point, please allow me to share with the honorable members, and just to point out that the Portuguese and French version of the procedures have been shared with the honorable members. What is to honorable members on the secretary is that the current chairpersons and vice chairpersons of our standing committees and the RWPC, who were elected and served for the period 2024-2026, has come to an end, and in line with our rules of procedure and the Constitution, they must retire by rotation. And in this regard, we have prepared this procedure to inform the members and guide them in terms of the eligibility criteria for the member parliaments. In terms of the procedure is set out in Rule 39 of the Rules of Procedure, which requires each committee to elect a chairperson and vice, but also indicating that the chairperson, in the absence of the chairperson, the vice will preside, and when they are not there, another member designated would take over. But there's also a rotation principle, which in Article 15.3 of the SADC PF Constitution requires the rotation in terms of the chairperson and vice chairperson. Specifically, it reads, members of standing committees holding position of chairperson and vice shall retire by rotation, meaning that a member parliament with members serving in the position of chairperson or vice of a standing committee shall not be eligible for re-election in the position in the immediate subsequent term. And specifically for this committee, for this organ, the RWPC, Article 16, sub-article 2 of the Constitution says, the chairperson and vice chairperson of the RWPC shall be elected from among the chairpersons of national women's parliamentary caucuses on a rotational basis. Honorable members, this is important to highlight because the membership of the caucus is for the chairpersons of national caucuses plus all women parliamentarians of the SADC PF. But when it comes to the leadership, only chairpersons of national caucuses are eligible. Let's move to the procedure, the nomination procedure and voting. The procedure for nomination of candidates for the chairperson and vices as follows. The returning officer, who is the Secretary General on whose behalf I'm acting, will invite nominations for each of the two positions. So in essence, we will elect the chairperson, then the vice chairperson. That order is important because it also speaks to issues of eligibility. In terms of the rotation, honorable members would have seen that there are countries who actually qualified for both positions by virtue of them not having held the position before. When we have nominations confirmed, we will give them an opportunity to, in 2 minutes, present their credentials. In the event that we receive a nomination, that candidate will be duly declared as the chairperson or vice chairperson. We receive elections, ballot, which is an electronic virtual election, as explained by the ICT officer. It's a one person, one vote system, and the issue of gender is not applicable to the RWPC. And upon conclusion of the election, the chairperson will then assume the position of chair and deliver their closing remarks to officially mark the end of the meeting. Let me move to the eligible and ineligible countries, honorable members, and when I'm done with that, I will then ask for any questions. So the schedule we have provided will show you the countries that have held the positions of chairperson and vice chairperson of the RWPC since inception from 2002. And for members that are new, maybe you may see inconsistencies where sometimes there is no vice chairperson to the historical. SADC PF before 2013, only chairpersons of caucuses were members of the RWPC. When we repealed the rules of procedure and constitution in 2018 to start operating like a parliament in preparation for the transformation, one of the major changes that happened in terms of the organs of SADC PF is that all women members of SADC PF were also members of the of the different the membership and the operations of the regional women's parliamentary caucus. I'm not going to run through who has held the position because that is clear when you say for maybe highlight the ones that are the current leadership or the immediate going leadership. We say we have served 2024 to 2026, where Professor Ndalichaku, who chaired the meeting, is representing Tanzania and has taken over in line with our rules of procedure from Honorable Charlie Joseph Raymond. And then we also have Honorable Maulid Kembo from Malawi, who replaced Honorable Rachel from the same country. Allow me a moment, Honorable Chair, to confer with my colleague. It's okay. All right. Thank you, Ronald. Now, in terms of eligibility, the list of ineligible and eligible countries for the RWPC for the period 2026 to 2028, based on the rotation. Maybe let me explain this. When you look at the categories of ineligible countries, honorable members, is a first category where we have listed the countries. those countries have held the position of chairperson and vice chairperson. Where we have indicated outgoing chair and outgoing vice chairperson, it is because the rules are explicit that even in scenarios where a country is eligible for both positions, in this case, if you look through the list, there are countries like Namibia, which is actually eligible for chairperson and vice chairperson. If they have served as chairperson in the immediate subsequent term, they are ineligible. They must be given an opportunity to rest a little bit, which is consistent with the rotation principle, or they can then become eligible to contest for the other position that they have not held. So we make a broad categorization in terms of the eligibility, the ineligibility, those that are ineligible because they have held the position, but also those that are ineligible because they are outgoing either as chairperson and vice chairperson. So if you look at the ineligible countries, they are South Africa, Botswana, Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi, Lesotho, DRC, Seychelles, and Tanzania. These are ineligible on account for the position of chairperson, on account that they have held the position. Malawi being outgoing chairperson, vice chairperson, even if they had not held the position of chairperson, they were still going to be ineligible on account of what I have explained earlier. That leaves eligible countries being 4 member states, namely Eswatini, Madagascar, Mauritius, and Namibia. Allow me to also explain the eligibility and ineligibility in terms of the vice chairperson. The countries that are ineligible because they have held this position are Angola, Lesotho, Zambia, South Africa, Tanzania, Madagascar, and Malawi. In Tanzania, even if they had not held, would have been ineligible because they are current chair or outgoing chair. So we indicate that they would be ineligible on that basis for purpose of clarity. That leaves the following 2, 4, 6, 7 countries eligible for the position of chairperson, namely Democratic Republic of Congo, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Seychelles, and Zambia. Honourable members, see if any members have any questions. If you do have any questions, honourable members, please take the floor and ask your question.
Excuse me, there seems to be audible problem. We are not hearing you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Sorry for the brief interruption. It's a round of technology. We want to confirm if there are no questions before we can then go on to consult our electoral college. And on the back of any further questions, we presume reasonably that there are no questions. The procedures are clear. Thank you. All right. We will go 1, we'll go 2, and we go 3. Honorable members, having no questions from the honorable members, it means we will proceed to constitute our electoral college and we will be moving non-members into the waiting room. Only those with voting rights will be allowed to vote. And as already explained, we'll start with the position of chairperson. One person, one vote, and you'll be given a ballot that bears the whole list of eligible countries, and you must indicate your choice. When this has been done, we'll do the tallying and we'll proceed to declare for the position of chairperson. So we are in the process of moving non-members into the waiting room. Maybe we can also request colleague desk officers is assist in properly labeling the honorable members, where we prefix their name with the country. So I already want to appeal, for instance, to colleagues from Zimbabwe to rename Honorable Mbowa. That was from Zimbabwe. And so let's do that with all the honorable members. This will help us to be able to identify the members correctly, even as we do the tally and even as we move non-members to the waiting room. Just in case we have anyone who is not a member who has remained in the meeting as we are creating the waiting room or moving members to the waiting room. There are colleagues such as interpreters and some staff who are supporting members who may stay in the meeting. Please remember that voting is strictly reserved for the honorable members. And each honorable member will vote in their individual right. So we'll count each individual member's vote, not vacant. So we will send from Mauritius. We will list the ballot electorally on the screen, so you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to vote on your gadget. It's a simple vote where you will have a ballot, and that sorry, Chair and honorable members, the internet keeps on playing us. Our ICT is so that we can then go into the elections. Madagascar, do you still want to ask a question or you have been answered?
Bonjour, rebonjour. J'ai pas encore eu la réponse. C'était par rapport à comment voter.
Mauritius, I see your hand.
Yes, speaking.
You're speaking.
Oui, oui, excusez-moi, c'est pour la même question. Où est-ce qu'on peut avoir accès au poll?
You are going to have it on your screen, honorable members. We're just dealing with issues of clearing those who are not supposed to vote to go into the waiting room. As soon as we are done, we will release the ballot. It will be on your screen and be able to vote. We'll also confirm during that process if you have been able to vote. If you have any challenges, you communicate. And just to emphasize, one person, one vote.
Sit down. Just leave that one. Just use this. Let me give myself. Sure. No, just continue with this one.
And I use the earphones.
Please.
Honorable members, I think we have been able to move our stakeholders to the waiting room. And because of that, we are ready to receive nominations from the list of eligible countries. If there are any countries that are not taking up the positions, if the countries that are interested, as I said earlier, the eligible countries are Eswatini, Madagascar, Mauritius, and Namibia in terms of the position of chairperson. Are there any nominations? We will request that when a nomination is received, it be seconded. Then we proceed. I see a hand, Honorable Mbowa from Zimbabwe. I see your hand. You have the floor.
Thank you. I'm nominating Honorable Linda Ngumalo from Eswatini.
We have received a nomination of Honorable Linda Ngumalo from Eswatini, and Eswatini is eligible. Is there a seconder for Honorable Ngumalo's nomination?
I second the nomination of Miss Linda from Eswatini.
Let's confirm who is seconding.
From the Seychelles.
What's your name, Honorable, from Seychelles?
Honorable Dennis Clarice. Excuse me, sir. Sorry.
Dennis Clarice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
So we
sir.
have a nomination. Sure. We have a nomination which has been seconded. Honorable Mbowa from Zimbabwe, seconded by Honorable Dennis Clarice from Seychelles, confirming the nomination of Honorable Linda Ngumalo. Do we have any other nomination, honorable members? I see Madagascar's hand up. Madagascar, you have the
Oui,
floor.
j'appuie également la candidature de l'honorable Linda de l'Eswatini au poste de président.
Duly noted, Madagascar. They are, in essence, supporting a nomination that has already been confirmed because there was a mover and a seconder. Any further nominations, honorable members, for the position of chairperson of the caucus? I will do a count of up to 5, just to make sure that take care of technological glitches and no one is denied an opportunity to nominate. Honorable members, we are calling for any further nominations on the count of 1. Any further nominations for the position of chairperson of the caucus? On the count of 2. Are there any further nominations on the count of 3? Are there any further nominations on the count of 4? Are there any further nominations on the count of 5? Honorable members, this is to confirm that we have received only 1 nomination for the position of RWPC chairperson for the period 2026 to 2028. And in terms of the power vested through the Constitution and the rules of procedure, acting on behalf of the Secretary General as the returning officer, I wish to declare that the chairperson, Honorable Linda Numalo from Eswatini, is duly elected the chairperson of the RWPC for the period 2026 to 2028. Congratulations, Honorable. Honorable Numalo, are you in the meeting?
Yes, Chairperson, I'm in the meeting and I appreciate the support from my colleagues. Truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. You will allow us to proceed and have elections for the Vice Chairperson before we invite you to then take the floor. Honorable members, as already indicated, the eligible countries for the Vice Chairperson are Botswana, DRC, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Seychelles, and Zambia. Is there any nomination for the position of Vice Chairperson? Zimbabwe, Honorable Karenyi.
Thank you very much, Chair. I rise to nominate Honorable Sharon Nice from Namibia.
Thank you very much, Karenyi. I have a nomination of Honorable Sharon from here. Is there any seconder for that nomination of Namibia? Is there a second for nomination of the
Yeah,
candidate of
Chair, can I please second the nomination for Namibia? And I am Senator Dr. Linda Ngumalo from the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Go ahead.
I'm supporting
Honorable
the nomination.
Ngumalo, the chair, the Oyo. Sorry, we were temporarily sent to the waiting room, but we are there. Honorable Ngumalo, the secondment for the nomination of Honorable Sharon from Namibia is duly noted. Duly confirmed for the vice chairperson position. May I invite any further nominations, honorable members? I will count in the count of 5. I would want to confirm if we have any further nominations for the position of chairperson of the caucus. 1. Are there any other nominations? 2. Are there any further nominations? 3. Are there any further nominations? 4. Are there any further nominations? 5. Honorable members, by the power vested in me as the returning on behalf of the Secretary General by the Constitution and the rules of procedure, I wish to confirm that there is only one candidate for the position of Vice Chairperson of the RWPC for the period 2026 to 2028. In this regard, Honorable Sharon is from Namibia. Honorable Sharon Bush from Namibia is duly declared elected the Vice Chairperson of the RWPC. And once again, congratulations to the Vice Chairperson. This constitutes the office bearers for the RWPC for the period 2026 to 2028. At this juncture, allow me to invite the Vice Chairperson if she has any statement she wishes to make, a brief statement. I would invite her and give the floor to address the meeting before I hand over to the Chairperson to deliver her remarks and officially close the meeting. Over to you, Honorable Sharon. Sharon Nice.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. It's just to thank the honorable members for their confidence and trust in Namibia to support our chair in the position as vice chair. As we start this journey, we do so with the understanding that we are relying on the full support of our members to ensure that our chairperson is able to execute her duties to the best of her abilities. And Namibia, in our capacity as vice chairperson, will ensure that we deliver on the mandate and really speak to the issues that our women across the region are facing. And at the end of our tenure, we will be able to report back on the good work that we have done under the stewardship of our chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sharon Nice-Bush, for those words. May I at this juncture invite the Chairperson of the committee to take the chair, deliver their remarks, and to eventually close the meeting. Honorable.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning, Program Director. Good morning to my colleagues. I just wanted for you to see that we are here in Eswatini with my colleague Noktula. Thank you so much for the support that you have given us. And right now, I would like to go into the remarks. All honorable members of the Regional Women Parliamentary Caucus, the Secretary General of the SADC Parliamentary Forum, Her Excellency Boeme Sahoma, all SADC PF staff from SADC PF member parliaments, our distinguished resource persons, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express my sincere thanks to all of you, honorable members, for the confidence you have bestowed in me by electing me to be the important office of chairperson of the RWPC. I think I speak for both the vice chairperson elect and myself when I say we are greatly humbled for the immense honor bestowed upon us, and we shall endeavor to deliver on our mandate to the best of our ability. Honorable members, I have no doubt in my mind that we all agree that the absence of women parliamentarians' voices on critical policies, such as those relating to climate change, cannot be accepted, as it disenfranchises a major section of our population, a situation which flies in the teeth of democratic principles. If anything, the voices of women parliamentarians are pivotal to the climate change response, because all commitments must be domesticated via incorporation into national legislative frameworks if they are to be of benefit to our citizens. In addition, commitments relating to climate change call for budgetary allocations and robust oversight, both of which are key parliamentary functions. Honorable members, as we are aware, the Southern African region is one of the most affected regions by climate change and climate vulnerability globally. Recognizing the disproportionate impact of climate change on women, the SADC PF has consistently called for strengthened leadership by women parliamentarians on climate change, which the ultimate goal of ameliorating its impact on women and vulnerable populations. Today, our session, which focused on the blue economy, gender responsive budgeting vis-a-vis climate change, has provided us with knowledge on the technical aspects of the impact of climate change on the blue economy, as well as possible strategies that we as women parliamentarians can utilize to efficiently advocate around the important issue so as to amplify the voice of women. We have also been enlightened on an exciting tool that can support our efforts to track climate change policy, including for gender responsiveness. I recall that SADC Sustainable Blue Economy Strategy focuses on sustainable climate resilience, utilization for marine and water resources to boost food security, economic growth, and livelihoods across Southern Africa through fisheries, governance, aquaculture, development, and sustainable maritime trade. I must further emphasize that gender responsive budgeting is an imperative which we as women leaders must seriously begin to advocate for as general principle, but also in particular relation to climate change and the blue economy in our quest to improve the living standards of the most marginalized of our citizens, especially women and girls. The advocacy work for the forum and the caucus around climate change is closely informed by national legislation, sub-regional, regional, and global frameworks, protocols, charters, and resolutions. It is in this vein that I am confident that this meeting has equipped us with significant knowledge, tools, and strategies to influence and track progress of the implementation of global, continental, and regional climate policies and actions. I'm hopeful that that armed with this knowledge and strategies, we have been empowered and motivated to heighten our advocacy on climate policies and the blue economy and gender responsive budgeting so that the public policy can be tailored to address women's unique needs. I therefore call upon each of us to champion the prioritization of women's needs in all aspects so that our countries can truly be on the road to sustainable and inclusive development. As I conclude, allow me to thank all of you, honorable members, for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this meeting. I also wish to appreciate your individual and collective contributions, which have made this meeting the success that it has been. I wish now, on behalf of all of us, honorable members,
We still need to prepare. Honorable Chair, we can't hear you. The last part. Maybe we try again.
hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you, Honorable Chair. I hope
Okay,
the members can hear.
let me go through the last part.
The last part, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Sorry about that. As I conclude, allow me to thank all of you, honorable members, for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this meeting. I also wish to appreciate your individual and collective contributions, which have made this meeting the success that it has been. I wish now, on behalf of all the honorable members, to sincerely thank our resource persons for sharing their expertise with us so generously today. I also thank the Office of the Secretary General for the support provided to us, which has made this meeting possible. With these words, I wish to thank you all, and I declare the meeting officially closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Mr. Kurasha. The chair has declared the meeting closed, and indeed it is closed. So maybe ICT can just terminate. We are finished with the agenda. Thank you.
Sure.